Alright, let's take a step back for a second. Everywhere you look, people keep saying the US economy is doing amazing. The stock market is flexing at all-time highs. The Fed is patting itself on the back for cooling inflation. And because apparently we're living in a golden age, Arby's now sells steak nuggets. So yeah, on the surface it feels like things are rolling along pretty nicely. But just below that shiny surface, there's a slow-moving credit disaster forming, and hardly anyone's paying attention. Everyone's too distracted arguing about interest rate cuts or debating whether Tucker Carlson glues his hair on every morning. And while it's easy to point fingers at the US government for burning through money like a bachelor party in Miami at 2 a.m., the real plot twist is that the rest of America took notes. If Uncle Sam can swipe first and worry later, why not everyone else? And the result is what you'd expect. The country is now sitting on record levels of household debt, mortgage debt, auto loans, student loans, and of course, the king of chaos, credit card debt. Here's the bottom line nobody wants to say out loud. Americans are drowning in debt, not treading water, not swimming, drowning. And by the time we walk through all of this together, you're going to see that the strong growth everyone keeps cheering for is really just a debt-powered illusion, a magic trick, a house built out of credit cards instead of wood. Let's zoom out first. The United States now holds more debt than any country in the entire history of planet Earth. That's not a record you celebrate with champagne. The national debt recently blew past $38 trillion, and borrowing money isn't free. The U.S. now spends $1 trillion a year just paying the interest on that debt. Just the interest, not the debt itself. That means the country spends more staying current on its credit card bill than it does on national defense, income security programs, or taking care of veterans. Interest has become the fastest-growing expense in the entire federal budget, jumping over 34% in just 2 years. Translation: we're paying $1 trillion a year just to stop the national debt from screaming at us in collections calls. But here, where things get worse because of course they do. When regular people look at the government spending habits, the reaction seems to be, well, if they can blow through cash like that, why can't I? And that right there is the core of the crisis. The average American is now carrying more than $90,000 in personal debt, and household debt across the country has exploded nearly 60% in the last decade, hitting a record $18.6 trillion. So yes, the government is drowning, but so is everyone else. Debt has become the duct tape holding the entire economy together. And just like duct tape, you can get away with it for a while, but eventually the whole thing starts peeling off. And to understand the mess clearly, we've got to break it into categories. Just like the old Clint Eastwood movie, you've got the good, the bad, and the ugly. When the New York Fed looks at household debt, it splits everything into 2 big buckets: housing debt and non-housing debt. Housing debt is the good kid. Non-housing debt, well, that's the kid who sets the toaster on fire while making Pop-Tarts. So let's start with the good stuff, housing debt. It's broken into 2 parts: mortgage accounts and home equity revolving accounts. Mortgages, you already know, they're the big soul-sucking loans you sign when you want a house, a place to sleep, and a yard for your dog. Mortgages are closed-end loans, meaning you borrow a chunk of money up front, then spend the next 3 decades slowly paying it back while wondering why you thought granite countertops were worth it. And mortgages are massive. They make up the majority of all household debt in America. Total mortgage balances have now hit a record $13 trillion. That's a trillion with a T, so if debt were a family, mortgages would be the responsible older sibling who has a job and remembers to feed the cat. Next, we have home equity revolving accounts, also known as HELOCs, basically a credit card stapled to your house. You borrow against the equity you've built, repay it, borrow again, and keep telling yourself it's for improvements. And to be fair, HELOC balances have risen over 30% since 2021, their fastest jump since before the 2008 crisis. But even then, they sit at around $411 billion total, which is relatively small compared to everything else. So for now, they're not the fire we need to put out. Now let's walk over to the other side of the room, the non-housing debt. This is where things get messy. Non-housing debt includes auto loans, student loans, credit cards, and a big other category. Auto loans in the miscellaneous bucket aren't spiraling out of control yet, so we'll leave them alone. But the other 2 categories, oh boy, That's where the storm is already hitting: student loans and credit cards. Let's start with student loans. Student debt has basically become America's unofficial welcome ceremony into adulthood. The cost of college has exploded over the past few decades, and the reason is painfully simple. Lenders give 18-year-olds access to huge loans with no credit, no collateral, and absolutely zero financial education. Meanwhile, colleges see this and say, "Oh, you can borrow more? Perfect, tuition is going up again." Since 1983, college tuition has shot up more than 700%. That's not inflation, that's legalized robbery with extra paperwork. Every year colleges raise their prices, students borrow more to keep up, and the mountain of student debt gets taller. Today, total student loan balances sit at $1.7 trillion, the highest ever. Out of all household debt in America, about 9% of it is student loans. Around 44 million Americans still owe on their education, with the average balance sitting around $37,000. And here's the part that should make you sit up straight: delinquencies are spiking. A year ago, fewer than 1% of borrowers were seriously delinquent, meaning they were 90 days or more behind. Today, that number has shot past 9%. And unlike a car or a house, you can't sell your degree to get out of the loan. You can't pawn your diploma. Student loans are also one of the only types of debt that usually don't disappear in bankruptcy. They stick to you like glitter on a child's art project. You're not getting rid of it easily. Now we're entering the danger zone: credit card debt. Calling it ugly is almost too polite. Credit card balances have crossed $1 trillion, a record high. Since 2020, credit card debt has grown by more than 50%. To put that in perspective, Americans added more credit card debt in the last 4 years than in the entire decade after the 2008 recession. And we're not just swiping more, we're opening more accounts than ever. There are now over 600 million active credit card accounts in the U.S. for a country with roughly 340 million people. That's a lot of plastic. Credit card delinquencies are also shooting up. The share of accounts in serious delinquency is now above 12%, the highest level since the 2008 financial crisis. And with the average credit card interest rate now above 21%, falling behind even a little is like trying to climb out of a hole that keeps getting deeper. But wait, there's a new twist, a fresh player in the debt game: buy now, pay later. You've seen it. Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, all wrapped in soft pastel colors, making borrowing look like self-care. But it's not innovation, it's training wheels for debt. It's credit packaged like a lifestyle choice. Around 15% of Americans used buy now, pay later in 2024, and 40% of them regretted it once they realized the true costs. Even scarier, 24% have already made late payments, up from 18% the year before. BNPL isn't harmless, it's just credited with better branding. So while the headlines keep cheering, consumer spending is strong, the truth is a lot less glamorous. People aren't spending because they're rich. They're spending because they're borrowing. They're financing groceries, shoes, vacations, anything to keep their lifestyle afloat. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the so-called booming American economy starts to look like a giant game of hot potato. Everyone's frantically passing debt around, hoping they won't be the one holding it when the music stops. Every flashy stock market headline, every report about strong spending, it all rests on borrowed money. America isn't preparing for the future, it's paying for the present on credit. And that's what makes this credit crisis so dangerous. It's not loud, it's not Hollywood-level dramatic, it's quiet, slow, and happening right in front of us. So yeah, everything looks great on the surface. The markets are up, inflation is cooling, unemployment is low. But underneath all of that, the foundation is cracking, bit by bit, because the truth is simple: America isn't growing because it's thriving. America is growing because it's borrowing.